All right, can you hear me? Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Gothenburg Film Studios and tonight's event called AI in Creative Practices. So happy to see so many of you here. Wonderful, very wonderful. Please take a seat, and if you haven't had a beer before, then run to the bar before you sit down. My name is Gennäs, and I'm the project manager at AI Sweden and a project called Recreate that explores how AI can strengthen creative practices across such sectors such as film, design, fashion, and architecture. And we focus on practical use, collaboration, and responsible implementation. And on my side, I have Andrea Nordvall.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Nordvall. I'm a PhD candidate at the Blekinge Institute of Technology and the technical advisor for Recreate. At university, I research and teach virtual production and apply generative AI for creative sectors. So I'm going to follow up with some questions and discussions with participants.
Yes. And this evening is organized by AI Sweden and Gothenburg Film Studios in collaboration with Swedish Film Institute, Filmivest, Film & TV Lindholmen, Magnolia Agency, and academic partners such as University of Gothenburg. And we're very happy to welcome you all here. Tonight is about applied AI, how artificial intelligence is already being used in real creative workflows today. Andrea, what does it actually mean?
It means that we want to ask creative sectors how they want to use AI, or if they want to use it and how. And today we will see some examples of how practitioners approach AI in their practice and have some interesting discussion about it.
Yes, so we will hear 8 short case studies, each followed by a brief Q&A moderated by Andrea, but we also invite you as an audience to ask questions. So if you feel like, I'm really, really curious about that, and I wonder about that, and that sounds very strange, then ask questions to us. But before we move into the first case study, we would like to welcome some of our partners on stage. And so I say, please welcome up on stage, Mikael Felenius, CEO of Filmivest, Linda Sternö, Head of Unit at University of Gothenburg and HTK Valand, Martina Eriksdotter, Strategic Initiative Developer at AI Sweden, and Daniel Lägersten, CEO of Gothenburg Film Studios. A warm welcome. It's wonderful to see you here. Mikael, Filmivest is a long-standing supporter of innovation and development within film and TV. From your perspective, why is it important for Filmivest to support development and exploration of AI within the film industry?
Well, let me start with saying that it was not a major decision when we were approached by Martina and Andrea here to join, Recreate the project. Because very well prepared and organized and project-led, so it felt like this is a good partner, and it was quite obvious that we should be part of that. But the reason for us as a regional film fund, our core business is just financing, but we also realize if we help out somehow a little share to look into the areas where we believe that it will be effective and in some improvement in production. And when I say production, we think about post-production and the possible cost reductions you can identify by using AI, but also in virtual production in general, and all those areas where I think AI could do a major difference. So that's our take and stake in this being part of the project.
Yeah, and we should mention also that yesterday we had an event at Filmivest, a collaborative event on AI and post-production, and I can see some people in the audience who were there, so welcome back. And it was quite enjoyable and interesting, I think.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Linda, at University of Gothenburg, HK Valand, you bring together education, artistic research, and professional practice. Why do you see events like this as relevant for students or researchers or the wider creative fields of right now?
Well, the development in AI is happening so quickly, and we all try to keep up. And I think it's really crucial that we meet across different fields, different practitioners and university funders and practitioners, as we will see today, that we come together, share knowledge, but also share questions, hesitations, possibilities, everything that we find out. Because since everything is happening so quickly, I think the best way to do it is come together like this and share.
Thank you so much for participating. Oh, you can handle it to Martina. So, Martina, you represent AI Sweden, who works across many sectors. So, why is it important for AI Sweden to engage specifically in the cultural and creative industries and host events like this one?
Well, I should say that what we can offer as a player within the innovation field is that we, just as Mikael and Linda earlier mentioned, we can offer a platform where we share knowledge from different perspectives with different themes. And the creative sector is not only, and the audiovisual sector in particular, is not only an industry, it's a super important societal area that we need to guard. And the development is moving so fast, as everybody is saying, and there is a certain way that sometimes you just only talk about things. So with this project, we want to go into the practices. And what we can offer with a seminar like this is to be practical. How you do it, knowledge share. We also offer workshops and other webinars and other information activities. And I think that we really could make a difference because as a country here in Sweden and as a region in particular, it is a unique project when it comes to the collaborative structure between funders, university, innovation and industry. And I think that's the way to move forward when it comes to the development.
Thank you very much. Daniel, we are here at the Gothenburg Film Studios where you turn ideas into production also. Why do you think it's important for studio environment like this one to open up conversations around AI?
Yeah, I'm representing the industry, as Martina said. We're producing and we actually doing in practice. By history, Gothenburg Film Studio has been very in the forefront, working with students and working with Lindholmen Science Park. And now it's 200 meters to the headquarters of AI Sweden, so it's very natural. And we will hear some examples in case studies tonight from me as a producer and also from a few partner company in Good Partners Media Group.
Yes. Well, thank you all for your contribution to this event, and please give them a warm round of applause. And with that said, it's time to get to know our first case study. So I would like to bring up on stage Sköld from Onoma Productions. A warm applause, please. And I'll give you the clicker.
Yes, hello, I am Sköld. I work with stop motion animation as a film director. And I started to work with AI in my project for some different reasons. And it's very much in experimental and developing phase. So this is the first time I show anything of this for like anyone else than me and my very, very closest persons. So it's a little bit nervous, I would say. But the reason for working with, starting with AI, I think is both because I need to find a way to make stop motion accessible for me as an independent filmmaker, because it's so expensive to make stop motion. It's so time consuming, and the most time consuming part of it is the face movements, like mouth and partly also eye movements, but mostly the mouth movements. When I work with like puppets that I want the mouth to move. So I started to look at AI to figure out how to work with the face movements. But this is not only to simplify and speed up the process, it's also because I wanted to find a way to make it like more human and more authentic, more like this close, real feeling from the puppets. Yeah, so the face movements is one thing that I want to talk about. Oh, sorry. But it's also the creation of the actual puppets. And here I have my friend sitting, one of the puppets. And what I do to begin with is that I use an AI-based 3D modeling program to create the faces of the puppets. I have tried several of them that didn't work at all for me. There are several of those programs, but the reason they didn't work is that I wanted to have a queer and androgynous characters with like different body shapes and different facial expressions and so on. And what I got was like some extreme variations of some idea of masculinity and femininity. So that didn't work, but at the end I found this program that I think worked quite well for me. I can use images of either drawn images or images of persons, like this, like I did test with me, and like upload a picture and generate. And I got this one. What do you think? It's some kind of similarity. I have never felt so like queer looking as when an AI program interpreted my face, or especially this program. So that worked really great for what I wanted. And then the next step is to download an STL file and print, to make, use another program to make negative mold of the face, print it on a 3D printer, and then cast the puppet with different kinds of material, like silicone, for example. After having done that, I work with stop motion. So I do regular, old-school, frame-by-frame stop motion, but only for the body movements. So I leave the face, or I do something in the face, like the direction of the eyes, like in which way the puppets are going to look, I do manually. But I don't move anything else in the mouth or the face. And then I use an AI tool to transfer the facial expressions from actors to the puppets. So this is like the tricky and experimental phase that I am in now, also together with Mathieu Thibault, who's working with me in this interesting process. And it's been big research to find a program that does what I need, because I wanted to record the face of actors and transfer it to the puppets without changing anything else in the image. Like not change the colors, not change the movements, nothing else but the face. And this I thought was a tricky part, because many AI programs does some kind of reinterpretation of the image. But then I found a program called Live Portrait. It's actually an open source program. It's looking like this, and it's like this is the version. This is not the web-based version, because the web-based version only works with images. So this is for video to video, the Pinocchio installed version. Here we have a source image, a source video, an animation, and then we have a driving video. This is my son with a mock-up helmet homemade by a bicycle helmet and a webcam. We recorded the dialogue and the sound, and then there are some parameters that you can change. Not so much actually, so it was like trial and error to what to change and what to leave to get the result that we wanted. And here comes a very short clip.
Då är det ingen mening med det.
Yeah, so that's like moving the lips. I think it works quite well in this one. And I mean, there is tricky parts like sometimes warping in places in the face and the eyes not like being exactly as I wanted. Or like the most tricky one for those puppets was for live portrait to understand what is the actual eye and what is the eyelid. But that's something that like now we started to work with Comfy UI instead, and there are more parameters that we can change. So and also there are more like possibilities for fine tuning, but there's also other kinds of what do you say? Like other kinds of possible problems in that program. But I'm going to show you. I'm going to end with a clip. It's a short animation of like 30 seconds that we did half a year ago in this way. The puppets are different, so it's different eyes for those ones, which interestingly enough seems to be easier for live portrait to interpret.
Mamma. Nu har jag mer skägg än dig.
Ja, titta det har du. Mitt skägg syns inte så mycket än, men det känns. Vill du känna?
Okej. Stickligt.
Nej, du din buse.
Sluta.
Thank you so much. What a lovely scene. I see that you're approaching it from two directions at once. One is, of course, what we all talk about in relation to AI, which is production aspects. And it's interesting that you say that you can make stop motion more accessible. I can relate to that. I've been involved in some stop motion projects. And they can take, years to make with the physical modeling, the physical animation. I don't do that myself, but I've seen people get caught up in that process, which is hugely extensive and taxing, and of course requires lots of resources to complete. So that's one aspect. Another is, of course, the artist-driven approach that you have. That it gives you some leeway to experiment and try out different things. How has that worked out for you in this context?
It's very fun and very frustrating. I mean, it's like I got also caught up in like trying different things, and it's very creative, but it's also like sometimes when it doesn't work and when it's like, oh, and the face and the eyes and everything goes in crazy ways. It's very frustrating, but when it does work, it can be really, really, really nice. And then you're like getting this dopamine kick.
Okay, that's interesting, because one of the common concerns with AI technologies in creative sectors is that AI will take the role of the artist and become not just a artistic material like any material, but rather a material that starts to control the artwork or the artistic direction. Is this something that you have felt with working with live portrait, for instance?
I mean, it's of course, one thing, for example, that I feel a little bit disturbing with live portrait is that it shows the teeth.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to turn that off. I don't want any teeth. It's like a little bit creepy, So yeah, there are things that I can't control,
Yes, I laugh because I've been playing around with Live Portrait also, and it loves to make creepy teeth and animate that without it being asked to. But what I know about this particular model is that it enables rather rapid artistic iteration. You can try out things very quickly, at least compared to traditional stop motion.
Exactly, and also the fact that I can use my PC laptop.
Right.
It doesn't need like huge power to do it.
So, and to give some background, often case you use models that require large data centers, but many models can be run on a regular PC, and this is one of those models. Something you do mention as a problem, however, is gender normative bias in models that forces you in a direction that you don't want to work with or see in your animation. So this is something that this kind of bias is something that often can be baked into AI models, and of course becomes a limitation on how you could use them artistically. Yeah. But you did find a solution that did work, which was good. So this can be a problem, it can also not be a problem. So you seem to solve that by exploring and testing different things.
Yeah, actually I was on my way to give up because it was like I tested many programs and it was the same, but finally.
And it's interesting, I should also mention that you mentioned the framework ComfUI to introduce that. It is a framework in which you can run all sorts of AI models on your own computer. And it's very versatile. You can build your own pipelines and workflows. And we intend to have a workshop on that in the Recreate project if anyone's interested. So please follow us to see where that goes. But it's interesting that you work with that too. And this of course, must be because of this versatility that you can build your own solution, your own pipeline, your own way of working, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I would like to invite you to also maybe comment, ask questions if you have any thoughts so far. I will just check on how we are with time. It's always a concern with this kind of events with many speakers. So if you take my mic. Sure. I take yours. Okay, so are there any questions, thoughts, comments? There's one.
Hi,
okay.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You talked about the mouth animations being some of the most time-consuming work. Now you've found a solution, and assuming that you would be able to use it efficiently, how much as a percentage perhaps of a video production do you think you would save using the technology?
What's the question, like how much time I save?
Yeah, I mean, even as a percentage of
how
long a project would usually take and how much you think?
I mean, first of all, if I would make expressions like those, I don't think it would be very, very difficult to do that in like, depending of course if you have like pieces that you change and things like that, but it's, I mean, I have done anime where I use like clay for mouth before and do it manually. That takes a lot of time. Then I have a lot of time now experimenting. So at the moment, maybe I have used the same amount of time, but I think at the end, I will really save. I mean, it's not like, I think maybe a scene that takes 1 hour to animate, 1 day to animate, or I mean, it would take like a week to animate what I can do maybe in 1 or 2 days with this tool. That's what I would think, yeah.
Right. Okay, anyone else wants to comment? Yes?
Great presentation. You focus a lot on how to speed up your workflow and sort of be more productive. In your research, did you come across any techniques that would allow you to do something new that you weren't able to do before without the AI technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is new for me to, I wouldn't be able to do this kind of in stop motion, like on frame by frame. I wouldn't be able to do that. So that is like, even the look of it, or like the way they move the lips is way beyond what I could have done without it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sköld, for the presentation. Wonderful. And now it's time for our next case study. And then we need to switch computer. So please welcome Mirko Lempert up on stage. He will talk about production planning, VFX breakdown, and even climate calculations in film productions. But before that, Andrea, please come back. I just want to ask you, yesterday at the film festival, you participated in a panel at the Film Forum Sweden.
Yes.
Film Forum Sverige, and with Martina and also Simon Norton from Scenen Film, Förbundet Scenen Film, and Carl Javier. Any reflections from that panel?
I mean, one reflection is that the discussion on AI seems to have moved from being speculative to become more concrete, which I am very happy about. So, for instance, Simon Norton raised the issue of actors' rights regarding their own likeness, which can easily be replicated with AI models. It was possible before, but it's much more easy to do with AI, of course, and that could create problems for actors that might be replicated by AI. It's also the question of artistic integrity. I mean, how do we want to use AI? Don't we want to use AI? And I think we will see some examples of this ongoing discussion, which I'm very happy about. I should also add that it's an important discussion. People tend to underestimate creative sectors in Sweden. In Sweden, creative sectors represent about 3% of contribution to BNP or GDP. And that 3% is a lot higher than many people would assess, maybe not in the creative sectors, but outside. And to me, this is crucial. This is like almost, if I dare to say so, NATO numbers, 3%, 4%. So to me, it's very important that we have this discussion on AI and creative sectors, because there has been, and of course still is, lots of concern about the role of AI in creative sectors. And I think that the approach from Recreate is to enable creative sectors to decide what they want to do with AI, what we want to do with AI. And in Sweden, at least, this project is quite unique. I don't know about anything like it, but we would like to see more projects like it, larger projects and more in-depth projects. So this is my hope for the future.
Perfect. Mirko, the stage is yours.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. How many of you attended yesterday's session? Okay, so it's like a rerun, basically, but I tried to do it in half of the time. So let's give it a try. So I'm going right into medias res. I'm focusing, I developed an application, and it's mainly target producers. And producers, they, at a point where they have read the script the very first time and got emotionally attached, so meaning like they like the material and they want to pursue it. At that moment of time, there's not so much money there for development or whatsoever to kind of get a broader perspective and hire people and making breakdowns and get a better idea of the material they just optioned. So I tried to solve this by developing 4 different profiles that I find are central to film production. So recently added green manager as well, but first AD, VFX supervisor, and line producer. And the producer will, because the producer, she will share the vision of those, or the analysis of those 3 or 4 positions will expand their own view of the material. So, and this is how it goes. You basically take the screenplay, so you run it through a process, which an LLM does, a large language model. It's parsing. A large language model thinks that a story is a very chaotic system. So it doesn't make sense to an AI. So it has to kind of abstract certain kind of components of the story, and then it does it builds a data set, And it makes more sense then, because it's a little bit like what we do when we do scheduling, say interior, exterior, day, night, and so on. So the LLM is doing exactly the same thing. At the same time, I build, unfortunately, you can't see it there, but it's a little bit small. At the same time, I'm building knowledge layers. And so, for instance, the first AD stands for schedule, the line producer for cost, the VFX supervisor for complexity, and the green manager for sustainability. So, and then I run them through this LLM, and then when I trigger a kind of action, I'm already there. When I trigger a kind of action, then it will, give me an execution path. You basically just be greeted by this kind of drop script. So then you take just a script. I have a test version now that's just like, I think 17 scenes or so. So I upload them, and then I have those kind of 4 personas that I built in the background. So here you can see like script, make it a little bit. So script, VFX layers, budget. This with the graphics now a little bit. So on feasibility map. So I would trigger those kind of processing it now, and it will render, but it will take time, and then we don't have the time. So this is what you basically get when you're done. So you get a breakdown of the material, including the aids. So and then once I open this up, so I have my breakdowns, and I have a tech quiz, production notes, props, VFX, cast members, and so on. So and then I can do this like for the same for VFX. So here I have built a kind of complexity system. So a producer is not usually a VFX supervisor, but to understand like how costs are kind of spent or so, you have some budget spikes. So red is for, okay, very complex shot, green is low. So if we click this, so you see like within the scenes, we have 4 VFX shots, and then you have what kind of VFX you have here. We have also like, okay, which method we are going to use, and then we have constraints. That means that's like telling the team what they have to pick up during the shoot, that you don't blow up your post-production budget, so that you have certain clean plates and so on. So, so it's a very, the thing is like, but I want to tell you that I don't want to replace the VFX supervisor. This is still like, you've read the script for the first time and you get an idea about the material that you have in hand. Okay, what will it cost us like to pull it off? So that's basically the idea, to get an understanding of the own material and take the material from a kind of artistic vision to a production reality. That's basically it. And then we simulate those. So once we get like, we into development and get green light, so then we will hire VFX supervisors, we will have our first AD, we will have the line producer anyway. So, but I did the same thing also for ecological standards. So this is built on the BAFTA's Albert carbon calculator for diagnostics, and then I use this Nordic ecological standards. That they have 5 pillars of assessment, so which are transport, energy use, catering, use of materials, and biodiversity. For instance, we have here a VFX shot, and then it will tell me, for instance, here, rent the vehicle for the dream crash sequence, dream crash sequence, and utilize VFX for damage rather than physical destruction, ensure fake blood used in crash stream is biodegradable and non-toxic, and so on. So it will go through like certain scenes and then make a kind of assessment that a green manager would do. So, but the green manager is then coming in because everything that you generate with AI needs to be approved by human oversight. So there's no way around it. So what you're doing is like you generate options and you get a better understanding, but you don't do decisions with AI, right? So that's very important to tell, to say. Last thing, maybe a feasibility map is also, it's now because of just 17 scenes, right? That's why you have, but it gives you an estimated schedule, You see, like, okay, we have to move a lot, so you have a high friction count by physical movement of the team. Here's your human resources. Paul appears in 16 of 17 scenes, so take care of Paul. Location consolidation, scene amplification, and so on. So you have, and then you say like schedule impact, okay, save half a day if you do it like this, and so on. So there's just like recommendations. So I borrow the talent and the expertise from those roles to inform myself, to then take kind of informed, it's like informed decision making or so, basically. Yeah, so, and then last but not least, I mean, this is mainly I'm thinking and focusing on development, because it's about, like, as I said, like going from vision to production reality and simulate different outcomes. But of course, once I have done all the stuff here, so the breakdowns, I can use the tech viz. I just put the tech viz in. Let me see, do I have it here? Yeah, I have it here. You see here is the tech viz, and then I say like, please create a clean, and then no URL, so a gaffers list based on the script breakdown, and then I take the link to storylines lighting rental, and then 30 seconds later I will have the complete gaffers list of for the production. So, but that's, you can do this with so many things, but I think it's not important. So the AI can already do it. The important is like that we use the kind of ability to start thinking in variations and simulations and then to evaluate and say like, okay, this is a good path to go forward, right? And we do the same thing also with, I have my comfy here, for instance, so because I have the breakdowns in here, so I take the description, run them through comfy, I would generate my scene coverage that I need, that it tells me here, and then I will upload them under something that's called resources here, and my VFX prediction will be even closer because it has also a visual reference attached to the text. So last but not least maybe is that the tech viz here, or maybe you're, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, super fascinating. So you built your own breakdown tool, so you can drop in a script and then get all of these information provided for you by the LLM. And as we discussed yesterday, we had this event at Film West about post-production. This was one of the case studies. We had some discussion about, you know, how reliable is a large language model in doing these kind of assessments. As you say now, of course, and yesterday, it's not intended to make the decisions for you, but rather to be an early decision-making support system, which you can use for sketching. So I'm curious, how would you describe the role of this tool in the production process?
Just to come back to like, one of the biggest obstacles or challenges with LLMs is hallucination. So that, you know, it starts to think and makes its own thing, and especially if you need some practical facts and data that should support your decision, right? So I figured a way how I can deal with that, but at the same time, it's also like important to know that, you know, building this interface and having an idea, and so that is one thing, but the most time was my research that went into those 4 profiles. So when I build a first AD or a VFX supervisor, that is really like, I run through like a lot of schedules. So what I think the ability of a very good VFX supervisor, or what a VFX supervisor should know and should be alert to. So, and it's the same for the line producer, and it's the same for the first AD. So that's, and by doing that, I can kind of control kind of quality in my outputs.
Right.
And then still, if I have maybe -10 plus 10% kind of a hallucination or whatever, but it still gives me a good indication, because I treat the information that I generate as what it is. It is just like an opinion. It's not like a final.
I would call it a ballpark. I can see someone in production using this as an early tool just to give an idea of how a production could look like, because there are, of course, many moving parts early on, and maybe get an idea of how it would look and start to sketch and test how the production could look like if you start to definite, and then use this as a basis for the actual production mapping work.
Yes, I mean, you can also, like for financing or so, for co-producers, very good because your production becomes so much more transparent and you see all your challenges and pain points very early on. And you can build your finance or your co-production around that. So the same thing, if I'm doing rates, so it's based on Swedish rates, so I give it constraints and say, like, you have to adapt to Swedish rates. But if 25% to Belgium, for instance, I will also calculate for that. And then I will get a number, and that number is equal to my artistic ambition or whatever.
Right, and that can be used as a basis for ongoing discussions. I would like to say also that I'm quite... I saw this tool in action yesterday, first time, and I'm quite impressed by the detail level it provides. It's a good conversation starter. And a good conversation part to things that needs to be addressed, you can find out. And something also that struck me is that this is a very good example of a quote-unquote native tool in the film industry. A problem with AI development and AI commercialization currently is that it's often, you know, technology-driven, driven by large tech giants. And the problem is that they are not particularly engaged in film industry at all. And I don't think they could have produced this type of tool. Of course, you use a LLM as backend, but everything other than that is based on film industry methodology, which is the power of this tool.
Yeah.
Do you agree? What do you say?
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, that's maybe in general, it's not a problem, but a challenge that you have like the engineering side and then you have the creative side and you have to try to merge them. And it's the same with the strains of like, you have the people that are absolutely against AI arts and the people that embrace it. So and if you're kind of in between. So yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not good on stages, right?
It's okay, it's okay.
No, but yeah, so that's, I try to be in between because I have an understanding of the creative needs, and then I try to see like, okay, what kind of challenges do we have? And if I promise something, because ambition is very high in the very beginning, right? So we go all into the project, we love it, it's cool, but then two months or 1 month before principal photography, we have to cut costs. Not cool for the team, right? And because you worked with a vision according to a certain kind of scale, and that's what I try to minimize. So it's, I try to minimize, but that could be because we can simulate those kind of different, because once I have all this kind of foundation, I then start, okay, how does that movie look?
Yes.
15% less financing or like money, right?
Yeah, you can go into hypothetical scenarios very easily with this kind of visualization.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one audience question. Please.
Hello. Hello. Oh, thanks for a nice presentation, Mirko. So now I'm not from VFX or film, so I have a series of quick questions. That's okay. Works?
Sure.
Yeah, so how big is the script PDF? Like how?
No, this one is, okay, very good question. So this takes in render time around, so 17 scenes, takes around 3.5 minutes. So a full script, let's say between 120 and 200 scenes or whatever. So little longer movies may take between 30 and 50 minutes. So if I had to do this breakdown as a FAT, so maybe it takes me several days.
All right.
So for a VFX supervisor, same thing. So.
All right, and then you showed one example where it had a text with a tip of like set shutter speed to reduce post-production time. Is that information in the script, or is this something
that's
LLM
the AI kind of hallucinates.
All right, so that's
because it hallucinates because I told it to.
Right.
So to hallucinate, it means like that would be if you have a very good VFX supervisor, it's not just detecting a VFX shot, but also tells you how to perform that shot and what it needs in terms of requirements that you don't. So you go from what to how, right? So, and that is very important, and that's because otherwise you have your VFX shots, and the VFX team or the post house told you, make sure that on set you have this and this in place. You don't do it, and then all of a sudden 2 days become 2 weeks or so, right, to solve it, and that blows up your budget.
Right.
And especially in a place where we are not used to work a lot with VFX, because the budgets were always limited. So it's a good thing now. I think AI can actually help us to be more creative because the talent is here, but the means, or let's say the resources wasn't, right? And now we can simulate certain ways and be a little bit more smarter with the limited resources that we have at hand.
Yeah. And this tool, you built it in Google AI Studio.
Exactly. In Gemini, the back-end profiles are built in Kimi. In Kimi K2, the back-end profiles. But the UI I built in Gemini, right? With Gemini and Google. Yes.
All right. Seems we're out of time.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure you will be around if anyone has follow-up questions about the tool. Okay, thank you.
A warm round of applause for Mirko. Thank you so much, Mirko. Okay, time for next case. And the next case focuses on AI in mask design and how generative tools can intersect with in traditional craft and artistic practice. So our warm welcome to Linda Boije of Gennäs. Thank you.
Yep. Hello. Hi. Yes, my name is Linda Boije of Gennäs, and I'm working as a makeup designer for film. And thank you for inviting me here today. I'm here with my agent, represent me, Magnolia Agency. Okay. My work is to change people. And the challenge is not how I do it in my work. The challenge is to get other people to understand what I want to do. And I can have like a picture in my head, what I want to, thank you, what I want to do. And the problem is that I want to get other people to understand, like my director, my actors, producer. And it's not like AI make me to a better makeup designer, but it's a tool for me to communicate. So I use it as a tool to explain what I want to do, because it's about changing people by aging, class, life, style. And if I'm using words like texture, finish, it can be difficult because we have different see different things in front of us. So it's really nice to have a picture and talk about. It makes it more easy. And so I can show you, let's see. Yeah, okay, like if I create some pictures, it's more easy to have to talk about what we are talking about. We say aging, but it's really good to have a tool like this. So I can put in a lot of things in for the actor, and we have a platform to talk about things. And this as well as an example. And if I say like texture, what is texture? It's like, it can be so different, and it's also a tool to explain with progression of things. For example, and the more we communicate before we're starting with the practical things, it saves us so much time. And also, and when we're sitting in like different places all over the world, it's really nice to have these pictures to talk about, so we get the same platform what we are going to create when we actually see each other and start with the practical tests. And it can save us a lot of time. So this, and like progression of things, that we also are on the same platform what we want to create example with a wound or something like that. Yes. So for me, it's a very good communication tool in the prepping. And I use it a lot. And this is an example for, like, we're talking about texture. It's very easy to say, like, okay, we're going to have a texture of a hair or make a wig for an actress. She's in LA, the producer in Calcutta, and I'm here. But the more we have communicate about what we are, so we have the same language. So for me, it's a really big help. Yeah. So for me, it's like, it's give me more time. It doesn't replace my work and it doesn't make the makeup design, but it's a help for me to be more creative when we actually are doing the practical things, because we are more on the same page when we meet each other. And it's also about, to do makeup is about trust. So we really knew what we are talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Super interesting. I'm really, you put it so well with this, this explanation, saying that it's a tool to explain what to do. And that really highlights to me the communicative aspects that you can get from an image, because of course you can talk about things, you can write about things, yeah. and of course you can sketch. I mean, there is still traditional sketching, but this kind of photographic, high definition, visual results, of course you could make them practically and take photos, but that would take a lot of time. Just to explain, for instance, the composition of a body, you know, that's something that you could do. But I'm fascinated by the use of AI as a communicative tool. How has this changed your intercommunication with the other practitioners?
I think it's changed in that perspective that I can immediately. When we communicate about something, I can put in the information and make a picture. And it's really helpful, because when we're talking in these words like texture, finish, age, wounds, it's like, it's a quicker way to get to the result, but that we are all in the same platform.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So but you know, do you get the AI to make the correct way of putting it, or do you need to explain based on the AI picture? I'm trying to get at a common problem with AI image generation, which is control over the result. Do you feel that you get like random results, or do you get the right results for your?
No, I don't get the right result, because the right result is my craftsmanship, what I'm doing, yes. Actually, when I'm doing with my craft and with my own tools, you know, it's not replace my skills as a makeup designer, but it's a more communication thing, because the wound maybe doesn't do exactly as in the picture, but we have the same about the progression and what we want to achieve.
So it becomes a way of talking about notions that, of course, are very familiar to you, but maybe not to the person you're talking to. And explain that and show that, and maybe they can also get involved in the discussion in a more active way by doing so.
Yes.
But I'm curious also, we talked a lot about, okay, saving time was another aspect. How does that give you time to be more creative? Do you get more time to spend practically, or what happens?
Yeah, because in the practical, it's like, if, for example, if I have a wound, and I meet the production the first time and the actor, and we create a wound, and we have not had a platform before with pictures, then I need to change it. Now I can nail it a little bit early, maybe, because we are have the same picture what we want to create.
Right.
So it's about communication.
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely, yes. And do the people that you're talking to also use AI for communication back? Is that the situation now?
Sorry?
Do they use AI to communicate back to you and show what they want also? Yeah?
We can send pictures, me and like my director, and communication about hair colors, eye colors, skin tones, textures. Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah, that's good. Because a concern with AI tools in general is that they have been very hard to use and hard to get the correct results that you intend to. So I'm happy to hear that, of course, people in post-production and VFX have long been using AI tools. But it's good to see that every department can get involved in this conversation actively.
Yeah.
That's very good, because technology should not be a hindrance for this kind of free flow of communication, I think.
No, I think it's a tool, but it's not a replacement of my skill, you know.
No, absolutely not. But so I think also it could maybe also give you time for the practical work, right?
Giving me a lot more time for the practical.
So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. We have time for audience questions and comments and thoughts. So is there anyone who wants to pitch in?
All right. So here I'm curious, since what you showed was very graphical, and I have not tried this, but I'm imagining that if I went into Google Studio and I prompted a gunshot wound in the head, like would it generate that image for me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
So there's no kind of like.
No, I can create the image on the actor, and I can create where we're going to put the wound and how big the wound is going to be and things like that. Yes.
And what model are you?
Sorry.
What model are you generating? Like what platform? Google or?
No, not Google. Using ChatGPT and Codex, yeah.
All right, so conclusion, there's no sort of censorship in the ChatGPT model when it comes to creating graphical material? Like the wounds and stuff?
Sometimes I need to put lots of information to go around it. That can be a little time consuming for me before they create the picture I want, because I'm using I'm in a world with like bodies, wounds, things like that. It takes a little time, but.
Yeah, so do you experience that then ChatGPT tells you like, sorry, I'm not going to generate a wound?
Yes, it's happened.
All right. And how big of a problem would you say that is in your workflow of creating the visual material?
Sorry, I couldn't.
How big of a problem would you say that?
No, it doesn't is a problem, because it's like, for me it's like if I can't create it, I can of course explain it or make a test or something. But so much I can use, I use it. But otherwise, I need to like talk like we always did before, like reference. But I can do like quicker things, like if I want to change hair colors, different hairstyles, things like that. It's very, so we are, but maybe then I do like a drawing, I can find other pictures, but it's a tool.
All right, so
it's not the final, it's not that I use it like the final result.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Linda, Boije, Gennäs. Warm round of applause. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Linda. Okay, our next case study explores the relationship between VFX and AI and how generative technologies are already supporting VFX workflows today. So, a warm round of applause for Henrik Svilling from Istudios.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Henrik, and I work in a VFX studio called Istudios Visuals here in Gothenburg. And I'm going to talk us through how we use generative AI in some projects a few years back, and also what we're doing right now, and a little bit about the future. So, one thing to start off with. For me, it's very important to understand that AI or generative AI, that's innovation, but visual effects has always been about innovation. This is just one tool of many tools that we use. So I want to view AI generative tools in a kind of sober manner, like it's not a complete game changer, it's development, but we have had development forever. Maybe the development is going a little bit faster and a little bit crazier, and a lot of things is a little bit crazy right now. This is one of them. So, let's roll back time just a little bit. Feels like yesterday, but in this sense, it's quite a long time ago. In March of 2023, something happened, and this is what happened. It's not that like a crazy cat appeared, but we all of a sudden had the access of generative AI within Photoshop, which was the first time where we had an integrated, easy accessible tool where we can generate images, where we also had the rights to use those images, which is a big thing in this. Generating things, generating materials, that's one thing. Having actual usable material, that's another thing. So, I'm going to talk a bit about this film. And this is also kind of interesting because it's on cinemas now. It just got released. But for us, it's way back in time when we started using AI. So in this case, this is a Move in Sweden image, Move in Sweden movie. And as you know, Move in Sweden movies have a very limited budget. And it takes place in Kazakhstan, but it's shot on Gotland. So yeah, it's not Kazakhstan. This is what the footage looks like that we had in the film. We had a lot of shots like this, where our main goal here is to make this look like the desert. So we made this, pretty much the same, and what we have done here is that we have taken a still of this film, brought it into Photoshop, masked out the background, prompted Kazakhstan desert, and boop, we have a Kazakhstan desert. And then we can basically track that into the frame, and a little bit of compositing and classical tools, we get this. So, something that I think is extremely important to understand is why does it work? Or like, why is generative AI good at doing Kazakhstan desert backgrounds? Because it's very good at doing Kazakhstan desert backgrounds. And that is because of two things. The first thing, which is absolutely not related to AI whatsoever, that's a rule that we tend to follow, that we really like when doing the visual effects work, and that's what we call the 30-70 rule, where we would really like 70% of the shot to be actual footage. It should be there for real. It could be like either like 70% of the pixels or 70% of the focus. Let's say we have a person in frame, we're going to look at that person, and that person's going to be real. Even if it takes up a little small portion of the shot. The opposite, we have a completely real background, but we have a fake character, super hard, right? So in this case, we are changing the background. You're looking at the trucks in the foreground. That's why it works. The other thing, which is way more interesting in this context, is what is the generative AI doing? And it's all about normal distribution. So this is a normal distribution curve for everybody who's not a like statistic person. And what the generative AI is doing is that it's predicting the most likely outcome of something. Like what would an image look like? And that's really the first question. So if you don't prompt anything, it's just going to make this image look like an image. Like, yeah, just going to solve the image so it looks natural. And if you prompt something like Kazakhstan desert, then it's going to make the image look as much as possible like a Kazakhstan desert based on the data set. In practice, this means that generative AI is extremely good at creating backdrops, filling out, like if you have some cleanup you have to do or something, but it's very bad at generating original designs. You can tweak this a little bit. Like if I prompt Ninja Warrior, it's going to prompt a very boring Ninja Warrior. But if I add something like onion-based Ninja Warrior, that's like a crazy question, but it's just still going to give you the most predictable answer to onion-based Ninja Warrior, whatever that is. So you can kind of tweak it, but again, it's based on it's very good at generating the most predictable result. So where we are right now, we are doing invincible VFX. We're doing a lot of invincible effects, and it's a big part of the VFX industry. And just this case, like, what would you predict? That's where it's good at. Have to speed up a little bit, I see. Okay. Conf UI. Skip that one. This is a case from a Finnish series called Guts that we did last year. And in this case, we have the footage on the left here. So it's a semi-sunny day, was no snow whatsoever, no storm, and in the script we have a snowstorm. So what we are doing here is that we are generating moving trees. And again, this would be super hard to do manually, but with generative AI we can do so. And here are some interesting results of what we get when we are starting to generate. You see, we get these crazy artifacts here. The entire forest became an ocean. And the reason why we get these results is that we have to push the model so much. So we have to, this is generated in 1.2.2. And I guess in the data set of 1.2.2 there aren't much blizzards, so it is really hard to get something. And when we actually got some result, we got this blue, more this blob going on here. The essence is really effective if you combine it with traditional VFX tools. Okay, moving forward. And now I'm going to show some stuff that's from a film that we are working on right now. So please don't take any photos. Okay, lastly, what I think is the way moving forward and how I like to think about generative AI that makes sense is that we should remember what we are good at, and we should remember what the generative AI is good at. And when we combine those things together, it really makes sense, and it's not like a dangerous, crazy thing, but it makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Henrik. Super interesting to see these practical examples, and I love that you show these failed generations as well. Very, very funny and also very enlightening about the struggles you sometimes have with these kind of tool sets. It's quite interesting. I mean, there's been lots of discussion about the role of AI in general, but also in creative sectors. And one of the takes that I've seen a lot is that we should have AI do the boring stuff. Yep. And I take your presentation as a very strong example of AI actually doing the boring part, and actually also being unable to contribute creatively in a meaningful way. What is your thoughts about this?
I mean, I would agree to 100%. I mean, at least that's where it makes most sense for us. It's also those areas where it's okay for us to lose a little bit of control. When we work with directors, producers, art directors, whatever, creative directors, of course we have to support them with the demands that they have, but they seldomly have like those high creative demands on how we should remove that tree in the background. That's not the thing, and that's not fun to do. So yeah, I agree.
Mm. And yesterday we had a session also on post-production VFX, and there are some similarities. You also use AI to produce like elements, parts of the picture, replace parts of the picture. Often case when you talk about AI and video generation, people assume that you always want to do like full frame generation. But here instead, often case you work with elements, part of the screen, enhancing, and the 30-70 rule.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also several reasons for that. One of the reasons with this VAN 2.1 Comfy setup that we have, we can only generate 720 by 720 pixels. So, and that in a 4K frame isn't that much. So we are kind of limited to doing small elements.
Right. Another use cases, of course, which you also showed is exteriors, which would be quite costly to do, to produce, and also to do replacements in and edits. So that could maybe be a more use case for full frame in some cases, maybe. But I'm thinking about the rights aspects here also. I noticed that I'm familiar with this Model 1. So what you're doing is that you're running it locally on your own GPU, your own computer. So there's no external data ending up anywhere else.
No.
But what challenges have you faced with you know, the rights perspective and licensing perspective of these models?
We challenge a lot of troubles with that, and it feels like a minefield, to be honest. Like we spend a lot of time on GitHub trying out new models and new generators, but a lot of them have very restricted user, what's called user, you can't use them based, licenses. Thank you. So they are basically okay to use for research, but they are not okay to be used in production, and that can sometimes be very hard to see the difference and know the difference. And we really want to stay away from credit-based online generation systems. We want systems that we can build into our pipelines, so they make sense in a more professional environment. Yeah.
Okay, a quick sustainability question. Which takes the most time? Local AI video generation or local 3D modeling, etc., for an effect in general?
Sorry, come again.
I'm curious about your electricity bill. Do you use more energy for video generation or for traditional 3D workflows?
Rendering? Oh, definitely most energy consumption is for 3D rendering. I mean, we have our render farms going 99% GPU, and that's...
So maybe not that much of a difference.
No, I would say from an environmental electrical bill perspective, generative AI is cheaper.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, it's time for next case, and it's on focusing on production from a hands-on industry perspective. So please welcome Emma Bertelsen, representing Stockholm VP and Hello VP. Welcome up on stage.
Right. I'll just skip that one. Hi. I'm a visual effects and virtual production supervisor at Hello VP. And Hello VP is more of a consultancy where we help productions throughout Europe to produce virtual production, whether it is content or shooting on a stage. So we have a network all the way from Canary Islands to Stockholm, where we, in November last year, opened up a permanent studio facility with all of these good partners. But before we go into based on this, I want to quickly touch upon what virtual production is in this context, because virtual production is a very broad term, and in this context we are talking about production with LED screens. This is a picture of our studio in Stockholm. And when we develop content for virtual production, we are very much creating tools for us to create visual effects on set. That means that we have a lot of variables that we can tweak on. We want to create visual effects with the crew on site, so we want to have all of the adjustment that we can have on set. AI kind of limits what we can because it generates something from nothing. But it does give us some other opportunities. to play. For example, here we have some archival footage from Copenhagen City Archive. But what AI is really good at is taking this, removing all of the noise, cleaning it up, something that would be very time-consuming in traditional visual effects or photo manipulation. We can take this material and animate it. Let's see if it's displaying. Yes. So what you can see here is a completely animated footage. It does some weird stuff, but when we use it as a background, it might not matter that much. If you know Copenhagen's history, you know that the trams were not green. It's something that it invented. And some of the horses get two heads at some point also. So if you don't look too closely at the background, it's something that we can put on a LED screen. Another thing that's very important when we create content for LED screens is that we don't want to have any kind of stylization on it, because we're shooting real life. We're just imitating it with the screen. So if we have grain or we have any kind of a look to it, then it would be a double effect if we shoot it through a camera and then put it on in post-production. So we want to have a clear image as possible on the screen, and then we want to put all of the effects on in post-production. So that's where AI can help us, and we also need to prompt that it doesn't do that, because it has a tendency to create a final image, which is not great for virtual production, because then we can't manipulate it on set. But here is another example. This is created from nothing. It's purely text prompt to video generation. And it does some of the same things. It's, if you notice, like all of the people, they walk in sync. Sort of a limitation for how it handles crowds. But we are now at a point where crowds can actually exist. It was not really the case a year ago. But we went through the Copenhagen City Archive. We couldn't find any images from inside of the trams. So we could generate this by having a long list of prompts that we knew it would trigger something. And it could sort of find the Scandinavian aesthetics, not quite the Copenhagen aesthetic, but at least it got the color of the trams correct this time. And here is when you put it on an LED screen. The only thing that's here is a C-stand that my colleague is holding his hand to, and the rest is playback on the LED screen. So it's matching the lighting. The issue, again, is with AI content. It is that it is 8-bit. It is Rec 709. It's not log. It's not any kind of raw material that we can manipulate. And that gives us limited tools. So when you use AI content, you have to agree on that what you're going to shoot is the look. We cannot help you on set to manipulate the footage as much as we could if we got out and shot like real captured footage, because then we have the data. There's no data in something that's generated from nothing. In this example as well, it's a little bit of a showcase how little you need to make something that sort of works. We can generate background extras, which are usually quite hard or expensive to do. You can put that on an AI-generated background. But you can also see here in the highlights, there are no data. The highlights burn out, and we can't really do anything about that. There are some models that do HDR, which the screens produce because the screens are replicating real life. But the models are not linear in the way that they expose. So there is still no data, even though they display as HDR. That also means that if we pull down like the light on the LED screens, like the exposure levels will be all over the place because it's random pixels generated. So we still need like real captured footage if we want to have tools on set. Here's an example from a commercial that we shot almost 2 years ago. The issue here was that we had a screen that was 12,000 pixels wide, and we did not have any stock footage available to just shoot this. And given it being a commercial, like the entry to this was 1.5, 2 weeks. So what we ended up doing was going out and shooting 5 360 images, and I told the director, pick one. The director picked 5. So we ended up having to blend it together in Photoshop, and then we put it on the LED screen, and the director of photography comes, say, I want more trees. So what do? You go into Photoshop and you start prompting trees. And because we needed the strict, like real precise color pipelines, we knew things were looking correctly on the screen. We kept it in Photoshop and we sent it to the VFX team to animate all of the trees and the leaves. So they knew what color space we were in, and the AI knew what color space we were in because we never went to some external software. And then we get it back, and we could actually manipulate it because we're back to what Henrik talked about, the 70-30 rule. There are some real content in here, so the AI has context of what it's generating, so we can still have some level of control, and VFX artists controlling how we animate it. If we sent this to AI to animate it, we would have like birds popping in and out and these kind of things, where if we put it with the VFX footage onto it, we can add it, have control of it. Another thing, really quickly, we can quickly scrub backgrounds. We can generate new backgrounds. This was generated on set, on the day, because we wanted a new angle. We really believe that the pickups are extremely useful for virtual production and AI. If you go out and shoot a dialogue scene, and you don't have B-roll of the other side and you need to create a new line, you could go into AI and ask it to generate what's on the opposite side of it, and then shoot that. And in that case, it doesn't matter too much to have control of the content on the screen, because you already know the lighting. You need to match the lighting anyway. So as long as you can match the lighting, then you don't need the other tools. A quick look into where the future goes with AI and virtual production. Like generating images, and then from those images generating 3D worlds is something that is expanding rapidly. And it is some Gaussian splatting, where we can actually start to be fully 3D interactive worlds. And these can be relit, so all of the controls are suddenly coming back to us. I think that's it.
Thank you. So quite interesting to hear about the intersection between virtual production and AI. You demonstrated quite a lot of examples with plate generation. Do you also work with AI for 3D environment creation or asset generation for 3D environments?
Not yet. We are mainly, it's going to be texturing and that kind of thing, and some models, but like the topology are usually not very optimized. And if we are using 3D in virtual production, it has to be very performant.
Yes, and explain it for people outside the 3D field. Bad topology means that it's a very looks good, but it's not useful practically because it's not optimized. And that is a problem if you want performant 3D environments that run smoothly in virtual production. But I'm quite interested in the production aspects of this. Does this enable you to have quicker turnarounds in production and be more creative, or how does this fit in your production workflow?
It can be, is the right answer. If we can communicate and log off people that this is not a playground that can do anything, then it's an extremely effective tool.
Right.
Like last week, we shot a commercial in the Garden of Eden, something that would be extremely difficult and hard to produce, where here they generated an image and animated that with visual effects, and then we put plants in the foreground, and it blended together.
Right, right. And interesting that you mentioned a type of AI models called world models at the end. We had some discussion about that yesterday, about radiance field rendering and 3D Gaussian splatting, and also where we also demonstrated generative radiance field, regenerative 3D Gaussian splatting, meaning that you could generate a full 3D environment. And that is kind of near future scenario, I would call it. What do you say about this type of application?
Right now we have some very interesting models, at least from Apple, who can generate a semi-flexible environment from one image.
Yes.
It seems very promising that we can have a flat image generated and then...
Apple Sharp, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then from that can have a little bit of movement, camera movement and perspective in the images.
Right. And I can also add the Depth Anything version 3 is also a promising one. So but what this means is that the requirements for recreating 3D environments it's getting easier and easier, let's put it that way. Okay, do we have time for a question or should we move on, Gunnar?
We are.
We need to move on, okay, okay.
A little bit, but I mean, all the speakers will be here afterwards, so you have all the time to catch up with them. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you, thank you.
And the evening is almost finished, but we still have two very, very interesting cases left. So now we will focus on script analysis and estimation using AI, focusing on how AI can support early decision making in development and production. So please welcome Samir Arabzadeh from Sideways Studios and Daniel Lägersten from Götafilm.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Gunnar. Nice to be on the stage again. I hope you're doing well. What do you think so far? What do you think so far? Yeah. They are stars upstairs on this stage, and I'm not, but I have another star together with me on stage, a creator, a writer, and a creative producer. We're going to talk about the simple way to toggle a script and a story. And generative AI could be very useful for a producer like me that don't have time and I don't have money, and they ask me to be on stage to do a presentation. So I just ask my tool to create a first picture and to present Götafilm and Sideways Studios. And this is how it looks. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, and you have something to look at. So, yeah, Samir, we met during creation scripts, and we both have the love to work fast. And tell me more about your simple work.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, first of all, I have to say, like, what I've seen everyone talk about is so advanced. I use AI in the most simple way. So I'm just going to share my process. I started using AI the way I think a lot of people do, which is write me a log line, summarize this, just to speed up my process. And I was quite happy with that. And I heard from a lot of colleagues in script writing they were using AI for script writing, but I had something against it. I don't know. I was like, I write my own scripts. I'm happy with my process. Then I had a big script deadline, and my co-writer got sick, like long-term sick. He wasn't coming back. And I sort of panicked, and I decided to sort of get cozy with AI and try it out. So I started using AI for creative writing to work on scenes or sequences, but also a bit more complex things like themes or thematics, subtext. But I realized quite fast that AI wasn't that good at actually solving the problems in my script, at least not in a good way, which would have been nice. But I realized it's really good for brainstorming. I also realized that it's not that good at judging when a problem has been solved. So for me, the way I work now is that when I have a scene or a sequence or a character or any part of the script where I feel that there's something wrong or there's something that can be improved, but I can't I'm stuck myself. So then I use it to brainstorm for possible solutions. But I need to be the one to go like, okay, now we got it, now it's solved. Because, I mean, it's good at throwing out ideas, and a lot of stupid ideas, a lot of good ideas, but it's all sort of a jumble and a mix. The good thing with AI, the thing that's really unique, is that it never gets tired. So I can run, like there's been instances where I, for like 3 days, upload hundreds of versions of the same scene. And it doesn't get tired, it doesn't even get grumpy. So that's great. But it also happens that I've been working for days on a scene or a problem in the script, and I hit a dead end, I can't solve it, and then I'm sort of forced to sit down with a human, with a script doctor or a colleague, and the feedback I get there is different, and it's so much better than AI can ever be. So it doesn't replace the sort of human interaction. Another way that I use AI in my script writing is to map scripts. So for example, me and Daniel have been working on a thriller film. It takes place in one night, and the whole film is a hunt. So we have the main character sort of on the run a lot. So I used AI to map out all the times the character is running, and then to create a progression. So she doesn't run in the same way. She's running because of different reasons. The result is different. So that's been really helpful. So I personally hate when I get text or emails or scripts that is very obviously generated by AI. So I use it to sort of brainstorm, but I rewrite every single word to make sure that it it's mine in the end. And then one tiny tip that I realized is that when I upload documents to AI, it doesn't understand it as well as when I copy-paste the text. And you can copy-paste like a 90-page script, and it understands it better than if you upload a document. Daniel.
Yeah, and my role as a producer is to secure the copyright of what you're actually creating. So, of course, the writer is handling an IP in the end. I think there are a lot of programs that you can license to help you do some analysis. But today we're focusing on how to get going very fast and very cheap and simple. And 2 tools that we got today is like, Gemini, and you have ChatGPT. And what should you be thinking of when you're using these tools? And it's super important to just clarify when you step into that world that you don't put out other person's identities. So quick rules for you as an advisement is that don't use any free versions. Make sure that you have a pay version. If you use Gemini, for example, use the enterprise version, and it will secure that it doesn't leave your identity. Don't upload full scripts. To be 100% secure, even if you have an enterprise version, you need to improve how you use it. So copy-pasting like Samir is doing, I also do as a producer. And it's super important to know what you're doing and how you do it. And review your settings. In Gemini, look for and toggle off the human review. That secures that it can't leave your enterprise version. Because if it's on, it could be read by someone else. And the scrub script. I mean, if I have a script, and just a typical example, I had a script from Samir when we met in Venedig. And he was really keen to have me to read it during a festival. And how should I get the time to read the script? So I started in the evening to read it, and quite very quick. The PDF version that he sent to me. And I made myself a note what I was lacking. It was some kind of problem with a protagonist that I didn't understand. So I put the scenes into a document and searched the words to delete the names, put it into the tools and say, this scene, I can't imagine, I can't understand it. What should be the alternatives for this scene to get what I want to see? And then it gives me like 5 examples of what else this scene can look like. And that also gives me an opportunity to make relevant feedback very quickly to Samir. And I should be very quick, but because this is super interesting, I think, how we can help use these tools to be very relevant and strengthen our feelings. Because for me, it's more like, you know, I always use my feelings. I know I have my own identity and my what I like and don't like and stuff like that. But as a tip is when you're using these kind of chat-based tools, you need to learn them who you are, and you can also prompt in a way that the more they know about you and what kind of perspective you want the AI computer to respond, it gives you a much more detailed and focused respond. So if it's a low budget, one camera scene, it's important to bring in that kind of knowledge to the data. So a tip is that learn the data before you listen to what it's saying. Feed them 3 or 4 with 3 or 4 questions and learn what perspective you want to have the answer on. And it gives you much more relevant feedback. So, thank you for listening. Is there any questions?
Yes. May I? Thank you so much. Okay, I have some questions. It seems to me that in your work process, you use a large language model as a conversation piece or soundboard with a back and forth. And you talked about this tragic situation with your co-writer that got ill and couldn't participate in your process. But I'm curious about, you said that you used AI to find out what's wrong with a scene, for instance. How do you do it? Do you just ask it, or how is this performed practically?
I've tried doing that, ask what it thinks is wrong, and usually I don't agree with that. So it works best when I myself know what's wrong, and I use it to bounce ideas to find a solution.
Right.
Because it can find many other issues with the scene or with a sequence that I just don't agree with. So for me, it works best when I myself know what I want to fix.
Right.
And then I work with it And then, as I said, I feel like AI is not good at judging when something is fixed, or when it judges that it's fixed. Maybe I don't agree.
It's up to you.
Yeah. So I have to decide.
Yeah, and also you have to tell it to be critical. This is something you might have to tell a human reviewer as well sometimes, to not be too helpful and polite, and actually get into the script. This is quite interesting to me. This how you interact with the AI, because authorship of scripts is something that has been discussed thoroughly. To me, this seems to be more of a AI-assisted creative process or review process rather than AI writing or anything in this vein. Do you care to comment?
Yeah, I do agree totally. And as we mentioned, there are tools that you can buy, and it's licensing, and it helps you to do your thing, and you can. There are tools and programs that they can be analyzing, like a script doctor and stuff like that. But I'm like this assisting way of working with the chats, because I can always bring in my own way of thinking, and also progress the outcome in a way that I feel that it's my way of doing this script.
Right. And in Recreate, the project that's frames this discussion right now, we did some background work, and one thing we did was to read the EU report, the European Commission report on the use of AI in creative sectors. And this was published in, I think, 2019, so quite a few years ago, and before the ChatGPT explosion, the Cambric explosion of ChatGPT. And they used a very interesting terminology. I don't agree with the conclusions of the report, but they used an interesting terminology. They call it augmented creativity. Do you agree with this term of augmenting your creativity by discussing with AI like this? Is it an augmentation, or what does it do with you as a writer?
No, I don't agree with it. I mean, I don't agree with it the way I use it. Because, as I said, like I come with a clear idea of what I want to do,
right,
and I use it just as a tool to do that.
Yeah.
And I have tried to be like, okay, I have this idea, can you write the script? And it can do it, but it's not good, you know, like it's never that good, and it's usually very cheesy or very flat or very generic.
Yeah. So more about ironing out the final ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samir and Daniel. All right. Now we will head into our last case, and the final stage of the film process is always to find the audience, right? So we're very happy to have Nils Ahlberg from Publicum here, who will share how AI is used for audience insights within film and moving image. Please welcome Nils.
Thank you. I would like to start with a few warnings, because I noticed that most of these cases we saw so far is about making things faster and easier. I would say my tool is about making things more difficult and perhaps also slower. So that's a good start. It's also less technical, I would say, than what we have seen. So that's probably also a change. However, it really doesn't generate anything at all. It demands a massive work of humans still. So I hope you still follow me just for the next 7 minutes. I want to talk about a tool that we use for audience research, for audience design, for audience insights, called Plot Bounce. I am from this company in Copenhagen, working with audience research, audience design, trying to combine artistic ambitions and commercial strategies with an approach we call AI-enhanced anthropology. So anthropology is still core of what we do, but we use a few tools with a bit of help from AI. We have been around since 2021, so it was like some of the first days, I would say, in AI. At least I haven't heard so much about it in the film industry before that. And we're working all over Europe, basically, in 12 different countries. We primarily work with, I would say, production companies that are writing stories, quality stories, that are trying to reach out with from a broader audience, basically. So AI enhanced anthropology means that we do work with tools for what we do, but still the humans are in the center of what we do. So when I say we do not create anything, we do not generate anything, it's not really true, because we generate it, but we generate it together with people that we work with, which is normally script writers and producers, since a lot of this is for actually the developing stage. That also means that we are not coming up with some really hard conclusions on what to do. We're not spitting out images. We're not coming up with a script. We're not deciding on a character. But we're coming up with what we call structured reflections on what we do. We try to make this 360-degree take on audience research and project insights by actually applying 3 different steps. All of them using a tool. Two of them are based on AI. One is not really. The first one is trying to involve the audience in the story very early on script stage to collect their reactions. The other one is an AI tool that helps us to see how this is relevant in the zeitgeist, so basically data from society in the second step. And the last one is trying to understand which references the people are building their expectation to the content based on. And that is the plot bouncer tool that I'm going to talk most about today. And because of the time, I'm going to very briefly just introduce the 2 other ones. So basically, when I presented it before, it probably looked very much like rigorous steps, which isn't really. It's more circular. We do once and a second one whenever it's suited for the project and the process. So it can also be a circle. But for the story and the narrative feedback, we use mobile ethnography. It has nothing to do at all with AI. We're just getting feedback from the audience into the script about the narrative. So that's audience data, basically. The other one is a tool that has been out also for some years now, 5 years, I think, where we are actually scraping a lot of data from anywhere, so Sweden, online, whatever, to understand the phenomenon, how people really react to the themes and the content inside of the story, like what is an outsider. We even once looked into what is good sex in Sweden. Interesting. So this is maybe 100,000 discussions that we cluster together with a semantic tool to get an understanding of how can we own a new perspective to this inside the film. And this is not generated by only the technology. This is something that anthropologists is actually working together with scriptwriters and producers to understand. Then, finally, if you have insights and data from the audience, you have it from the society. The last part we work with is actually insights and expectations from the films, which is this plot bounce tool that I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining, where we're trying to make a certain level of prediction on what people will start comparing your title with, just based on actually the logline. So this is the name again. Plot bounce is not to give like a solid prediction on this is exactly the expectations that people will have, but it's to use data from the past, from the film, from the history of films, to try to predict if you are pitching a film like this to the audience, they will start comparing it to this and this and this, and is that really where you want to go with your vision? It's based on log lines only, so it's very, very short input that we have given to it. And why that? It's because based on the research we have done for so long now and with so many people, we noticed that people spend so little time really deciding on do I want to engage in this content or not. So basically, what can I expect? What does it remind me of? And will I watch this movie? It's more or less the time that it takes to also read this log line. If it's not interesting, I go further. So even goes back to this very old quote that I guess a lot of people know already, given the same, only different. I know some of this, the same part sounds a bit boring, but I guarantee you the audience are always looking for something they can recognize. Also, I think the book Save the Cat puts it pretty nice that you need to give a fresh spin to a tradition that people will compare it to. So that's why we actually think that the log line is a good tool for us to work with, to try to define what can be the expectation based on how you're trying to pitch your film. So it's made in collaboration with IMDb and with the Danish Technical University. And what we did basically was we trained a lot of data from IMDb to create clusters of expectations. So now we can add a logline, and it can choose to place a logline in 1 out of 500 different clusters of similarities to other titles. So we can start imagining what people will be comparing this to, basically. So here's an example of a logline of a project that we tried to put in. And we, let me read it out. When Sarah's life falls apart, she seeks God online through a FaceTime wedding and a Sufi retreat, but perhaps paradise is already waiting at her mother's kitchen table. So the first thing we can do is we can start exploring other titles that have similarities with this. If I don't know if it's playing. Should be, yeah. So we can move around and see what other titles are there. We can do that just exploratively. We can also move really far away from it if that's what we want to do. We can click in, and then we can explore basically what can be expected from there. But we can also, we use an LLM to then describe all of these 500 different clusters, to understand what's really going on inside this cluster, what kind of expectation to a story is created if you pitch exactly this logline. In this case, for instance, we could see it's in cluster, I can't remember, 296 or something like that, and it's very much social stories where institutional norms are often in there. We can also see which type of genres this is normally related to, and maybe most important, I don't know if I can point up here, yes I can, we can see how many average votes it gets. And this is a nice way for us to predict some kind of attention into this cluster, because people, of course, cannot vote on things they haven't seen, so the average number of votes of the films inside this cluster is 5,420 in this case. Then if we try for the same film to adjust the logline a little bit and write something in the line of a funny coming-of-age story about a stoner looking for spiritual enlightenment online and in real life. It gets into another cluster about addiction and redemption, so very much personal drama, abuse and hope are normally the driver in that story types, and we can see that now actually the average votes goes up quite a lot, and if you change it then again, into like a very short and sweet and simple and maybe also surprising logline. A Muslim stoner wants to learn to pray. Then you see it goes into another cluster of love and power in Muslim worlds. It's relational dramas, it's family and desire, basically, that this is about. And the average vote is a bit lower. So we're not trying to suggest, okay, of course you should take the one with the highest. We're just having an informed discussion about which versions and which different individual words in the loglines do you think is interesting to work with as a, a creator from a point of view of a creativity and a market put together in a conversation where we can identify what can be interesting to maybe try to change and rethink. So it's also about shaping the vision inside the project that a writer, producer, maybe even sales and distribution can share all the way from the beginning. We can also compare different elements. So we can look at other titles that has the highest similarity. We can look inside the same cluster of which has the highest ratings. Sometimes maybe you don't know them all. So it's often useful to also look at which one was most popular, meaning which had the most votes, not only the highest score. And based on that, you can also do more qualitative observations. In this case, it was actually a pretty light story, the one with the 3 different versions of this logline. So a question for the genre. We saw that actually the project was meant to be quite light and funny humor, comedy, but most of the references that it was creating was pretty dark and a lot to do with death. The story was about emancipation in real life, but actually the comparison looked to be much about captivity. And even though it was also from the gender point of view, it was a story about a woman, most stories were actually about men not treating women very nice. So no hard conclusions, but some past data to compare with to inform discussions into the project. And that's it.
Thank you, thank you. Super interesting application. We talk a lot about generative AI, but this is another aspect of AI, which is analysis and prediction also. You talk about prediction models often. I'm quite interested in this, the balance between human judgment and the judgment that comes from the tool, or advice that comes from this tool. because I can see two sides to it. One is that it would be maybe feel restrictive to be told that, okay, this will not fly, this will not work, we've seen this in the data, etc. On the other hand, you have this, for instance, this listing view with the possible variants, where I think you could explore and maybe find new variants of the story that you're working on. How this worked out in practice when people have worked with this tool? What's your experience?
Well, I think, as I said in the beginning, we don't really believe in working so much with hardcore recommendations.
Right.
I think you should take decisions that are really aligned with your creative vision always. Having said that, I think it's also very useful to be challenged on your vision often, but it doesn't really give an answer. And I don't think that any of these three loglines, for instance, is necessarily the perfect one. But the discussions that you're having there, it's a little bit like bringing in the audience when we do that with qualitative research. If it's not me telling you as a writer, or if it's not my producer telling you, the questions come from the outside. But I think still the answers need to come a little bit from the inside and from the other input that you create.
And also this, we don't have time to talk about it that much, but this referencing is quite interesting as well. And I assume that this will be very useful for planning for international releases, to better understand international markets and how they could perceive a certain work.
Yeah, sure, and I think it's also a combination with the other tools. That's why I try to make this a little bit of a childish circle around it, because maybe some of the answers is also by combining some of these inputs, that you get some input from maybe working with the film dates or the log lines, but it might be useful to involve audiences from 3 or 4 different regions to also explore the cultural differences.
For sure. Okay, final question. When you work with this kind of database like IMDb, doesn't it risk to become retrospective? How do you keep it current and engage with the current zeitgeist?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I still would also argue that it is important to know which tradition you're coming from.
For sure.
And I think actually often that discussion is disregarded a little bit in the desire for chasing the new things. And I think both are equal. And I think that's also my short answer is probably that's why we're not using only one tool, because using, for instance, the zeitgeist analysis give you a new perspective into things that you maybe haven't seen before, and combining that with the other insight is what can create new things.
For sure. So you have to take it for what it is and understand what it is doing and what it does provide, because what you see there is, of course, also part of the current context.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Niels, and please stay on the stage. I would like to bring up all the speakers of tonight up on stage, so please come back on stage, all the speakers for tonight. And that brings us to the end of tonight's program, but before we end it up, we just want to mention a few things. Andrea, would you like?
I have one important thing to say. We have been taking photos this evening to document this event. If you don't want to appear in any photos, please talk with us so we can remove you and omit you from social media, for instance. Yes, maybe we should have the image actually.
Sorry?
We should, can we have the slide show?
Oh, we lost the screen. I realize now. Oh. Sorry about that. Well, that was...
Okay. Sure. We need to temporarily move the computer. Okay, maybe we could put it down like this.
Yeah, sure. You can keep describing the...
Yes. I'll try also be here.
Okay. Weird. Anyways.
Yes.
The workshops are coming up, and the dates are...
I think we will do like this.
Yeah.
I will talk about this, and then we can put it up as a background image while we mingle and talk.
Yes, we will.
What we want to say is that the Recreate project will arrange workshops for creative industry. So during spring in March, and we will show the nice info slide soon, you will be able to sign up and participate in a discussion on how to apply AI in your personal or organizational practice. And we will focus on what you want to do, why you want to do it, but also give technical expertise in how to do it, and maybe also connect you with whom to collaborate with. And the project has quite a large network, both in creative industry and also in university. So we will be able to connect you with possible collaborators. So if you're interested in that, please take a photo of this QR code and look into our workshops. We should also say that if you want more information on the project, you can find it here. We also have made a few seminars discussing more and more case studies like these, more in depth, with more time from various creative sectors. So if you're interested in seeing these seminars, they're available on this link. Thank you.
Yes, wonderful. And of course, thank you, all of you, to joining us for this amazing evening, participating in the discussion. It will continue. And of course, a warm round of applause to our amazing speakers. Here they are.
Thank you.
And with that said, the bar is still open. Please join us for a conversation during this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.